Shalom, this is Brother Dawah Daw from DMS Tampa Bay '07. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shah. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. And salutations to you, brothers pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth. Alright, I'm going to get into this quick lesson. Lord willing to be edifying. Topic at hand is pretty much Esau and the things that's in Esau's nature to do, we got a subject on hand right now out there in Las Vegas with the shooting and stuff, and the information is coming out, there's not too much to really get into that story, about what's going on here or there, but, it's a thing that could be shown out of this, it's just the characteristics of Esau, he does the same thing he always does, there's a lot that could actually be said about that, how, one, they're not calling this terrorism, they quick to scream terrorism when you got a little bit more darker skin or something like that, or from the Middle East, but this guy over here, doing all kind of wickedness, or hate crime. They don't say nothing about that. They say he got a gambling problem, but nevertheless, we're going to get into this lesson about Esau and the nature of Esau, First scripture I want to jump into is in Deuteronomy 28, start at verse 45. Okay, this is actually going into the curses that are upon the children of Israel. This is Deuteronomy 28, verse 45. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy power to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. Okay, so these are going into the curses, that the Most High said he was going to bring upon us if we didn't follow his law, statutes, and commandments, And this whole chapter actually is going into, the blessings and the curses, dealing with the covenant that the Most High made with us, and for the, for further edification, I would encourage you, you read this whole chapter. Verse 46, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Okay, so if you're asking you're asking yourself why are these things happening, about like racism, white supremacy, stuff like that. There's actually a definite answer to this. People say, "Oh, you're not born racist or anything like that. You learn these things." People just are taught these things. But when it comes down to Jacob and Esau, it's actually that they're born that way. Esau was created from the foundations of the earth to be the wicked. And Jacob was created from the foundations of the earth to be the righteous. And like in their birth, in the account of their birth, the two nations, there was two different nations, two different manner of people inside of Rebecca's womb, they was different from the womb. They was born even before birth, that's how they was created. And we're going to get into some of that today, okay? So back to Deuteronomy 28. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 47. Because thou servest not Yahweh thy power with joyfulness and with gladliness of heart, for the abundance of all things, therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which Yahweh shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, in nakedness, and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he has destroyed thee. Okay? So the Most High said here, you're going to serve your enemies, And if you look at your condition today, again, this whole chapter is giving you a description, you trying to find out who you are, And if you can read this and try to see if these things apply to you, you'll understand things a little more clear, And then it says here you're going to serve your enemy. Esau, the so-called white man, ain't your friend. He's your natural born enemy. Your friend wouldn't put a yoke of iron upon your neck. He wouldn't bring you from one continent to another continent and strip you of your customs, your heritage, your knowledge, everything. Like, he wouldn't separate your families and do all the things, all the atrocities he did to you. It says he was going to serve him in thirst, nakedness, and the want of all things, and hunger, and the want of all things. Whenever we want something, we got to go to Esau. You want food, you got to go to Esau. You want a job, you got to go to Esau. You want your water to be cut on at the house, you got to pay Esau for it. And of course you can go and start your own business and grow your own food, but at the end of the day, you want to grow your own food. Who you got to pay for a water bill to sustain that food? Who do you got to buy the property from to grow on? And you want to start your own business. Who you got to go to get permits, and who you going to be paying taxes to ultimately? So-called white man, And it says, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he has destroyed thee, If you was to Google search that term yoke of iron, you'll see exactly who this is talking to. You know who the prophecy fits. You know, Google, which created by the so-called Esau, the so-called white man, even tell you that. You know, you just put that in Google and it'll show you. Verse 49. And Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the ends of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Okay? And if you look at Esau and his emblem, you know, he's always choosing the eagle to represent himself, you know? And that's the nation, you know, from afar whose tongue you aren't going to understand. You know, these people, you don't understand the ways that you can't, Jacob can't understand how Esau get down, like, some of the certain things just in a regular life aspect of things, you know, it don't even have to be, in a so-called religious sense, you know? Like, Jacob can't understand why Esau don't ever have wash rags in his house. Like, how you bathing without a wash rag? We just don't understand that. We don't understand his tongue, you know? We don't understand how he get down. We don't understand how he can sit there and pollute the water system he got to drink from. You know, we don't understand how he can go out there and poison all the food he got to eat from. We can't understand how he'll sit there and destroy a whole nation of people and act like ain't nothing wrong with that, you know? We don't understand that tongue he speak. You know, that shit is completely opposite of us, you know? It says, verse 50, it says, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor show favor to the young. And see, this is why I wanted to bring this up, because this is, again, it's talking about the children of Israel. You know, the curse is coming upon them, but, you know, throughout, as time played out, and throughout the scriptures, you will understand that this nation was Esau, you know? And it's describing Esau here. It says, a nation of fierce countenance, you know? Who's the person that's dropping and threatening nuclear warfare on people? You know, who dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? You know, like that's a nation of fierce countenance. Who's telling North Korea they can't have a nuclear program or they're gonna blow them up? Who's telling Iran the same thing? Who's telling Syria they gotta have regime change? You know, that's a fierce countenance. You got people being scared of this country because of that. You know. So I brought that out to get into some of the characteristics of Esau. We're going to jump to the book of Revelations, chapter 6. This is Revelation chapter 6, verse 3. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given unto him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. Okay? And so it says, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given unto him to take peace from the earth. Okay? Now you're gonna see here that this is talking about Esau here again, you know? So if you think about just his track record, you know, you go to court and they say, based on your previous history, we're not going to give you a bail because you got a history of running from the police, you know, breaking out and running from the police. So based on your prior history, you know, we're not going to give you bail. So looking at this here, you looking at his prior history and you matching it up to the scriptures, it's clear as day who Esau is, okay, and who this is talking about. It says, and power was given unto him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, that they should kill one another, and was given unto him a great sword. Okay, and we're gonna see who this sword was given to. Okay, and I also wanted to read this one, verse 7. And when he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth power of the earth, to kill with the sword, with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Again, this is getting into Esau as well, you know. And the name of him that sat on him was Death, and hell followed him, you know. Everywhere Esau goes, every place he places his foot on this planet Earth, what comes? Death. First, death. He come in and he annihilate every damn thing, and then he brings hell. He turned places into straight hell, you know. First thing he did when he came over to this land over here with the natives, first he killed them off, and now look at this place. You got GMOs everywhere, homosexuals everywhere. You got all kind of wickedness. It's just nothing but death and hell going on here. You got pollution, GMOs, drugs, all kind of stuff. People killing themselves with all day here, and it's all stemming from this one place, you know. And every place he set his foot, you know. When he went over to the Middle East, first thing he did was drop bombs, death. Then he started bringing democracy over to those people, and giving basically what he's doing over to the Middle East to those type of people. You know, like you have different nations. They got different, more or less, for a better, lack of a better term, they got different vibes. You know, you don't go and you take a bird like a pigeon, right, and mix it with a seagull, you know, because a seagull is like a sea-bearing bird. You know, seagulls like being around water and stuff. Pigeons, they're not really with the water type of shit, so you can't try to raise a pigeon with a seagull or a pigeon with a penguin. You know, a pigeon ain't gonna like being a penguin. So you done did all kind of crazy shit to them. You bringing hell to all these people, bro. Like, you over in the Middle East trying to raise them your type of way when they don't see shit the way you see shit. They a whole different type of people. In the same way here with Jake, man. You like, really, you like the only person that get down with that homosexual deal that you get down with, and so you trying to push that on people. It's driving people crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and giving people all kind of crazy shit. Like, you going over to the Middle East, and you so-called trying to get them women's rights, and you see what didn't happen here in America, man. You done destroyed the women, the men, and the children with that. And certain people, again, it's like mixing a pigeon with a penguin. Pigeons don't want to live in penguins' environments, and penguins don't want to live in pigeons' environments. They don't, like, a penguin don't even fly, you know? And a penguin like being cold, and a pigeon don't. And this is what Esau does. Death and hell follows. First, you destroy the whole habitat, or you start killing everybody, and then you destroy the habitat, the environment. And then for the things that grow back there in there, they're going to grow in hell. So, and death and hell follow them. It says, the power was given over unto them, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword. Okay, so again, everywhere he goes, he got his military blowing shit up. You know, just killing every damn body. Bombs everywhere. All he known for just dropping bombs. Like, who you know, and shit. Since they had bombs, what nation of people you know is known for dropping bombs? I don't think any other damn nation be really dropping no bombs like that. Like, besides Esau. In any conflict, it's just basically Esau just dropping bombs on everybody else, you know, and his military, because the sword is a representation of a war weapon, you know, and that's his military. To kill with the sword and with hunger, Monsanto's, the famines, the plagues, and stuff that he be bringing upon the earth, and he start the GMO crops like the corn in Mexico, you know, with to kill with the sword and with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth. Okay, like he bringing Ebola, all kind of crazy shit, man. Like this guy, and again, back in the GMOs, you killing us with the foods we eat and the animals you tainted us with, man. Like Esau is just like Esau is the devil that the Bible speak about. It's hands down, it's clear as day, man. And if you can't get this, like, you done for, like, for real, bro. It's like it's time to open your eyes up and see what's going on, what we got in front of us, bro. You living in hell, you face to face with the devil, bro. It ain't no more time for no games and no shit like that, and like living in this facade, this fake world and nothing like that, bro. Like, all the signs is opening up and things is getting more and more revealed, and it seems like soon one day we're gonna just all take off our masks and you're gonna just see the righteous spirits and the wicked spirits, and it's just gonna be an all-out war. We pretty much at all-out war right now. We trying to wake y'all up and give y'all the spiritual armor that you need to combat with all this demonic warfare that's coming at you all damn day long, and you don't even know that this beast is roaming the earth, like, as we speak right now, you know? Next precept is in Genesis chapter 27. Actually, I'm gonna read something else first. I'm going to read Genesis 25 and 21 first, okay, since we're talking about Esau and his characteristics, okay, and some of the words we brought out, you know, about that red horse and that sword, you know. These are the depictions, you know, and the markers on them. This Genesis 25, verse 21. And Isaac entreated of Yahweh for his wife, because she was barren, and Yahweh was entreated of him. Let me reread that. And Isaac entreated Yahweh for his wife because she was barren, and Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. So Rebekah couldn't have kids, and now Isaac prayed to the Most High, and she got pregnant. And the children struggled together within her, and she said, "If it be so, why am I thus?" And she went into require of Yahweh. Okay, so basically she's having problems, I guess you could say, with her pregnancy. She's feeling the babies fighting with each other inside the womb. Again, like I said, like counterintuitive to how people say in the world you can't be born racist and stuff like that. Something you learn. Like, nah, you these two people, it's not that they're racist. It's two opposite spirits amongst one another. It ain't, hell, if they was born the same color, it ain't got shit to do with racism, because really, to tell you the truth, they got the same parents. They the same race of people. You see what I'm saying? But the Most High separated their spirits. That's all. They got the same mama, the same daddy. They born on the same day. Okay? So, speaking on race as far as how they break it down to you here in America and Babylon, they would technically be the same race, according to what they say here in America. But spiritually, we know that the Most High separated them. We're going to get into the separation here, what makes them two different races here. Okay? It says, verse 22, and the children struggled together within her, and she said, "If it be so, why am I thus?" And she went to require of Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto her, "Two nations are in thy womb." Okay? So, according to Babylonian standards, they the same race of people. Okay? But according to the Most High, because he said this is how he created them inside her womb, they two different so-called races. Okay? It says, and Yahweh said unto her, "Two nations are in thy womb, two manner of people shall be separated." Okay? Separated. They ain't gonna be together. They ain't gonna be the same. This is where he making the separation between the two different races here. Okay? But they genetically the same people. They come from the same mom and daddy at the same time. They twins. It says, and Yahweh said unto her, "Two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger." The funny part about this part, talking about the stronger, one people shall be stronger than the other people. They're trying to play out on the news about the shooter in Las Vegas. The only thing they could think about is having problems with gambling problems, problems with his wife or his girlfriend or some female that he was in a relationship with, I guess, and some other little bogus story or whatever. But anyway, it shows clearly that we are stronger. Jacob is a stronger people than Esau, because like gambling problem. Let's say he lost all his money in gambling. You know how many times black people or so-called black people or Jacob go broke and we lose everything. We don't want to go kill up everybody. We lose our women. We find out other men are sleeping with our women. Our women don't want us. Our women divorce us. Our women take us to court for alimony and child support. And yet we don't go kill up every damn body. More or less, our women could put us on child support. We could be paying all our money that we do got on a low end paying job. We got a low paying job, paying the majority of our paycheck, child support. And then we can barely make our payments to put a roof over our heads, you know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, we just lost our job. Do we go and we shoot up everybody at wherever we can see, whoever we get mad at? Nah, we're stronger people than Esau, okay? Esau put us in hardcore slavery and bondage and did a whole bunch of fucked up shit to us, And we still walking, well, we're a little fucked up in the head, but we still walking around right now, and we don't want to put our hands on Esau. But Esau can't even deal with the fact that he know he dealing with that, and he gonna have to pay for that. This is why he always be bringing up all kind of stuff to cover all of that. He ain't even strong enough to deal with what the fuck he did to take a responsibility for the things that he did. It says, and one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. Okay, so the older one is gonna serve the younger one. Okay, it says, when her days to be fulfilled, when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. Again, according to Babylonian standards, they fucking the same people. You know what I'm saying? They like the same race, But the Most High is the one who put it in them. You know what I'm saying? From birth, genetically, they gonna be different. You know what I'm saying? So It's not because of two different skin colors that these people have. Oh, I don't like you because you got black skin, or I got white skin. No, it ain't that. We're gonna get into why there's so-called racism between these two so-called races of people, and showing you the characteristics of it. You know, it's just this vile ass motherfucker Esau, and he the devil that the Bible speak about. You know what I'm saying? Again, if you don't understand that, then I don't really know what to tell you. You stuck worshiping him. You know, you too caught up in his sauce. You know. It says verse 25, and the first came out red. Okay, there's that sign again. The first one came out red. First one came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Okay, and after that came out his brother, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare him. Okay, so this is the birth of Jacob and Esau. Okay, and I'll read verse 27. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. You know, Esau, he liked being so-called adventurous, going out in the woods and doing all kind of stuff like that, where Jacob just like chilling, you know. We just like, you know, just chilling out and relaxing, you know, hey, we just want to enjoy the day in the breeze. Now, going over to Genesis 27, started verse 38. Okay, and Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing? My father, bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered it and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of the heaven from above. And as you can see, Esau is basically in control of the whole planet Earth. He got all the best dwelling places on the planet Earth, conquering all the lands. He go any and everywhere he want. You know, he came over and stole this landmass. You know, dwelling places is you know, of the heavens of the earth. You know. Verse 40. Here's the key. And by thy sword shalt thou live, not because you peaceful with all people. People like you because you cool, because you smart, because you could do this, you could do that. No, that's not why you live on this earth. You live on this earth and you got everything you got on this earth because of your sword. You didn't kill everybody for it. You didn't dominated and decimated the whole damn planet until the whole planet is crying out and is being forced to bow down to you. You know, the so-called that's the definition of the devil that the Bible speak about. It says now here goes this is where the racism come in at, because now if you read more into this chapter, it's talking about when Isaac got older and he was passing on the blessings to his two sons. You know, Jacob wound up getting the blessing of the birthright. You know, because basically through the spirit, that's how it was set up for one, because the Most High set it up that way. But Esau also sold his birthright, and so that's how it played out. But nevertheless, I'm reading this for characteristics of Esau. You know, this is verse 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherein his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart. So first of all, the whole racism started with Esau. The whole problem is Esau, well, we contrary to his spirit and he contrary to our spirit. But Esau, it started off, it says, Esau hated Jacob. So when they talk about you preaching hate speech, no, we just acknowledging the shit that Esau been doing. And we pointing out that he the one hate us. We not doing this shit to him. He doing this shit to us. Okay? It says, and Esau hated Jacob. So white people hated black people. So-called white people hated so-called black people. This is what it was from before any of us was even born. You know, before they even had a term called racism. Before they even Esau so-called took us into captivity. You know, it says, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherein his father blessed him, and Esau said in his heart. Okay, this is what Esau has in his This is what he say in his heart. The days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother. Okay, so it says basically when his father died, you know, he said, look, when my pops is gone, I'm gonna just kill my brother because this is some bullshit. Like, he ain't gonna get one over on me. And he had that hatred in his heart for his brother. And so he was like, yo, when pops is gone, I'm finna just slay my brother. Verse 42. And these words of Esau, her eldest son, was told to Rebekah. She went and called Jacob her youngest son, and said unto him, Behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, does comfort himself, purposing to kill thee. Okay? Like, he comforting himself, like he make himself feel better because he know what he did. He just sold that birthright. Now he can't deal with it. Like the scriptures say, one's gonna be stronger than the other one. He can't deal with what he had to do. He can't take responsibility for what his choices that he made in life. And he said he gonna kill his brother. And then he say, Rebecca said he comforted himself in killing you. You know, Esau get off on that. Esau is having a field day with you, Jake, man, with the police shootings and stuff like that. Esau, look, that's what he get off on. That's what's in his spirit. You know, that's in his DNA. You know, like Jake want to be, you know, Jake want to shine and be on top and basically be exalted because, you know, he the son of the creator, the prince of the power. He above all the other nations on the planet Earth. Whether or not he know that or not, or that's in his mind, whether he got riches or no riches, we'll take, you know, nothing and make it into something because that's just what's inside of us. This is just what's inside of Esau. He got that hatred, that perpetual hatred. He said he was gonna hate it. He was gonna kill his brother when his father died, and he comforted himself in killing Jake. You know, that's what he get off on. That's what make him feel happy. That's what complete him is killing Jake. You know, when you understand this devil, you'll see him for what he really is and all the intentions, all his laws, all the shit that he do. His one purpose is comforting himself and killing Jake. You know, our comfort is serving in the Most High. You know, that's that you know, the men of the Lord, that's where we find our peace at. You know, when we vexed and going through all our stuff, we just want to serve the Most High. Even when we not like that, we still want to serve the Most High, you know. The next scripture, this is Psalms 44. I'm gonna read verse 22. Yea, for thy sake, we're killed all the day long. We're counted as sheep for the slaughter. Okay? And Esau, that's what Esau is doing. He just putting in that work all day long. Like he said, he comforted himself in killing us, you know, and he's you know, like it just said, you know, we killed all the day long, you know, all day long, all we doing is being slaughtered, whether it be abortion, drugs, guns, like illnesses from food, cancers, all kind of things like that. We being killed all the day long, like the sheep to the slaughter, man. It's like a slaughterhouse, really. It's like you go into a fucking slaughterhouse with the chickens. They just one by one, hour after hour. There's just a guy just sitting there just beheading the chickens. Boom, 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 like a machine. That's exactly what it's like right now. You know, Jake just getting off at a massive rate. You know, and why? Because this is what's in Jake and what's in Esau's heart. This is what he found his comfort at. This is what will get him at peace and at ease, being a fucking devil. You know what I'm saying? This is Daniel chapter 9, start at verse 11. Yea, all Israel has transgressed thy law, even by departing that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that was written in the law of Moses, the servant of Yahweh, because we have sinned against him. And that's going back to what we was reading earlier today in Deuteronomy 28, when they was making that covenant. Like, yo, this the deal. You know, you do this, this, and that, we're going to do this for you, you know. And if you don't, these are the curses going to get, you know, that's going to get you. And it says, verse 12, and he have confirmed his word, which he spake against us. Basically saying, you know, we didn't follow the law, statutes, commandments, so now we getting fucked up, basically. And it says, he confirmed the words which he spake against us and against our judges that judge us, by bringing, this is how he judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. Okay, talking about Esau, he brought this great evil upon us, that enemy that we was going to serve for hunger, thirst, and one of all things, like he said he was going to bring, by bringing upon us a great evil, for under the whole heaven, so under the whole heaven, right, the whole universe, ain't nothing on the whole fucking planet Earth, right, it says under the whole heaven have not been done as have been done unto Jerusalem. So the things that didn't happen to Israel, you know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing under the whole heaven, earth, ain't nothing on the planet Earth, ain't nothing that has ever happened on the planet Earth that's been done as has been done to the children of Israel. And we see that, you know, throughout history. You know, ain't nobody else been taken in the transatlantic slave trade from one continent to another continent and had their nationality beat out of them and made them serve their fucking enemy, or like to serve something completely opposite to their genetic makeup. You know. Like, it's completely contrary to our genetic makeup to even have anything to do with any homosexuality, and yet you have us bowing down praying to a homosexual every fucking night. You know, this nigga is foul. he got to be like, he the devil, and he got to be exposed, man. This is Obadiah. I'm starting verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob shall for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Okay, now we get into some of the judgment that the Most High is talking about, and I encourage you to read the book of Obadiah. This is talking about Esau, and if you need to know who Esau is, just break it down. We're gonna start at verse 3. This is Obadiah verse 3. The pride of thy heart has deceived thee. The few, whatever they saying is the few, the proud, the Marines. I'm proud to be an American. You know what I'm saying? Like, just Esau. Who can bring me down? Like, who greater than us? It's just Esau. The pride of thy heart has deceived thee. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, who said in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Okay, it says whose habitation is high. Okay, and who dwells in the clefts of the rock. Who like living in these tall ass skyscrapers, like living on the top floor and living in all this concrete, And he get that remnants from this being in his spirit, thou that dwells in the clefts of the rock. Who the fuck is named after? It's a like on my language, but Esau got me vexed. You know what I'm saying? Like with the stuff that's going on, not just Esau, but you 2/3 and some of you elect that's ain't woke up to this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like what more is got to be shown? Like the devil then took his mask off and he dancing around butt ass naked and don't nobody seem to see it. You know what I'm saying? Like Esau is the fucking devil, man, and you got to do something about it. And what you got to do about it, you got to go out there and fish the elect, wake them up. You got to preach the downfall of this kingdom. You got to prophesy. But it says, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high. These Edomites, these so-called white people, named Caucasians. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. Esau dwelt in Mount Seir. And then he also dwelt in the Caucasus Mountains, which he's named after the Caucasus Mountains, Caucasian. Okay, verse 4. Thou that exalt thyself as the eagle. Okay, we read about the eagle earlier today. Swift as the eagle, a nation with a fierce countenance, as swift as the eagle. It says, thou shalt exalt, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, thou that set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith Yahweh. Okay? Just further getting into the characteristics of Esau. But anyway, getting on back into the lesson, verse 10. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. And we just read about how there was no evil done under the whole heavens of earth as it been done to Jerusalem. And who's the one putting all the hell on Jerusalem? Esau. So Esau ain't nobody more wicked, more vile than Esau, because he's the one who put the most hell on Jake, And it says, for thy violence against thy brother, he gonna be cut off forever, because for one, he didn't plow the whole earth and wring it dry, but he also did the same thing to his brother Jacob, Verse, thou stoodest on the other side, and that day the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even was thou one of them. Okay, talking about the transatlantic slave trade, and when we was basically getting fucked up, we also was getting fucked up in another spot. But when we wanted to pass through where was it at? The rivers of Mizpah. Salaki, I'd have to get back on that. But anyway, Esau didn't want to, Amalek didn't want to let us pass through, They wouldn't let us pass through the land, And then there's a scripture saying because of that, they're gonna perish forever, But it says, verse 12, thou should not have looked on the day of thy brother and the day he became a stranger, neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction, neither should thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. Thou should not have entered in the gate of my people in the day of their calamities. Yea, thou should not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamities, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamities. Neither should thou have stood in the crossways to cut off those of his that did escape. Neither should thou have delivered up those that did remain in the days. Okay? Oh, man. For the day of Yahweh is near upon all the heathen. Hold on, let me go back. So it was just being expressed in from 11 on down to 14. Basically, the Most High is getting at Esau like, look, bro, this is supposed to be your brother. And when he getting fucked up, you supposed to be a brother to him, and you supposed to go over there and stand by him. You weren't supposed to be on the other side cheering on the enemy and letting them be like, yeah, go fuck him up. But what was in your heart continually was that you wanted to slay Jacob. So whatever was going to happen to him, you didn't even care about. You know, you just sat there and just watched the shit happen, you know? And you, you know, everybody like, you supposed to love your brother, this and that. You no longer are a brother, bro. You didn't fucked up big time, bro. You didn't watch this out there get fucked up like that. You know, not only that, you help with the affliction. Then you came in and kicked us while we was down, started stealing all our shit. Like you stole our identity and shit, start trying to ride with that. Like Esau, when you search out the things Esau did, this brute, vile beast is like, man, he is the epitome of like the damn devil. Like there ain't no other word to describe like how vile this beast is, man. As a human, like I don't even want to call him a human being. This nigga is just a beast, man. But verse 14 or verse 15, for the day of Yahweh is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thy own head. So all the shit you done fucked up with, you finna get that shit right back on you, bro. Like all the atrocities and all that stuff, you know, that forgive. Yeah, we gonna forgive your ass for goddamn. I don't even know if I'm gonna forgive you for goddamn crying when I goddamn put these hands on your ass. That might have been the only thing you would have got forgiven for, because like the scripture say, ain't no place found for repentance for your ass, you know. So I don't really know what all that forgiveness shit is all about, bro. But you're going to get paid back double like the scriptures say right here. It says, verse 16, for as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. So the Most High finna get gangster, bro. Like, bro, you done fuck with my kids, bro. Like, I'm finna fuck you up. And he say, look, it says, for as you is drunk on my holy mountain, so you want to drink from this, I'm gonna make you drink, and I'm gonna make you drink it all. Okay? When I was younger, right? Here's a story. This is exactly what happened right here. When I was younger, my sister, she wanted to be cool or whatever, because our parents smoked, right? So my sister wanted to start smoking cigarettes. She was, you know, probably 12 or 13 or something. So she go in the bathroom, try to light a cigarette, you know, in the bathroom, and my mom smelled the smoke and everything like that. She was like, all right, you want to smoke cigarettes? You're going to smoke the whole pack, you know? You want to drink, you're going to drink continually. All right, you're going to learn the lesson now. Basically what's going on here, you know? And our spirit bears witness with the spirit, you know, that we the children of the Most High. But anyway, nevertheless, it says, verse 16, for if you have drunk of my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down. They shall be as though they had not been. Bruh. Most High finna, like, seriously stomp a mud hole in your ass. Like, it's finna be on. And we're gonna get, the last scripture we're gonna get into, we're gonna break down exactly what's coming to your ass. Okay? And this is, this Jeremiah 51. I'm gonna start at verse 19. But, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you hear, for you new brothers coming in, or anybody watching this who might not be aware of the things going on, and you might be a little disturbed about how people talking about the so-called white man and this and that, and you know, like the things like that, and you feel a certain uneasy way, just look at his history. You know, just research regular history. You know what I'm saying? Like, not even old history. You can look at the last 100 years, 200. You can look at today. You know what I'm saying? Like, no matter how much you like this guy and stuff like that, and how nice they've been, you like, just, you know, if you got any kind of compassion, and when you look at the atrocities, you just forced to just look at him like what he is, a vile beast, you know, a fucking vagabond, like a piece of shit. That's all he is, man. This is Jeremiah 51, and I'm gonna start at verse 19. I'm gonna read quite a bit, actually. Yeah, we're going to read this anyway. This is Jeremiah 51, verse 19. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance, and Yahweh of hosts is his name. So Jacob or Israel, we not like the rest of them, you know, like we different, you know, like Deuteronomy 7:6, thou art holy people above all other people on the face of the earth, you know. Most High set you up, you know what I'm saying? You different, you know. He hewn out his own little piece for himself, you know. And like we the former of all things, we the creator of all things, but we not like the rest of them. You know, like in Deuteronomy 32, it says they vine is like the vine of Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, that ain't the same as us. Our rock is different from their rock. You know, but verse 20, Jeremiah 51 verse 20. Okay, this is talking about Israel. Okay, and we getting into the recompense we was just talking about. How the Most High say you gonna drink, cause since you drinking my holy cup, bruh, you gonna drink this cup. You gonna drink it all the way down. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna get into some of this and read why some of this stuff is in there. It says Jeremiah 51:20. Thou art my talking to Israel. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee I will break in pieces the nations. Okay, so the Most High saying to basically this is to the elect and to the 1/3 of Israel. This he gonna also use the 2/3, but the 2/3 ain't gonna ultimately prevail at the end of it all. But he's talking to the nation of Israel here, and basically he's saying, look, I'm finna fuck them up, and I'm gonna use you to do this with them. It says Jeremiah 51:20, thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee I will break in pieces the nations, and I will destroy kingdoms. And with thee I will break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee I will break in pieces the chariots and his rider. And with thee also I will break in pieces man and woman, and with thee I will break in pieces old and young, and with thee I will break in pieces young man and the maid. And I will break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock, and with thee I will break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen, and with thee I will break in pieces captains and rulers. Basically what the Most High is saying here is, look, he gonna stop a mud hole in your ass, and he gonna kill everything breathing, no matter man, woman, child, old, young, cow, beast of the field. Everything got to die. Esau then fucked everything up, and he gotta die. And Israel gonna be the battle axe to use it with. It says, and I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea, and to all their evil they have. I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea for all the evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith Yahweh. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith Yahweh, which destroyeth all the earth, and I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and I will make thee a burnt mountain. And they shall not take thee a stone or a cornerstone for the foundations, and they shall be desolate forever, saith Yahweh. Set up a standard in the land, and blow the trumpet among the nations. Prepare the nations against her, and call together against the mountains of Ararat, many Ashkenaz, appoint captives against her, and cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes and the captives thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of Yahweh shall be performed against Babylon, to make Babylon a desolation without inhabitants. So the Most High finna come do a number over here on America and these Babylonians, especially just like right here in America. Babylon finna get fucked up, because it's time, bro. All the shit he doing, he got to pay his dues, bro. That's all I got to say. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holes, and their might have failed. They become as women, and they burn in their dwelling places. Her bars are broken. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to another, to show the king of Babylon his city is taken at one end. And the passages are stopped, and the reeds have burned with fire, and the men of war are frightened. Okay? It's basically just going into the downfall of Babylon, Actually, I'm going to just go ahead and stop there, because I'm about to lose battery power here. This lesson was going on, but I implore you to read the rest of that. That's a real pumping. Get you real pumped up, you know what I'm saying, for where we need to be at. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to say all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that rule well, and salutations to you brothers pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth. Until next time, say shalom and mawat blah. Shalom.
1492 marks the year that Christopher Columbus invaded the Western Hemisphere and began 500 years of continuous indigenous genocide, resulting in the Holocaust of 95% of all indigenous people in the Western Hemisphere. To get some background on this story, let's look at Europe before Columbus. Beginning in 1095 AD, European Christians began invading the Middle East in a series of holy wars called the Crusades. These Christian holy wars were officially sponsored by the Catholic Church. The Catholic Pope issued what were called papal bulls, or declarations, in which the Catholic Church authorized Europeans to invade non-Christian lands for the purpose of taking over their lands and converting their populations to Christianity. It is from these papal bulls, or Catholic declarations, that the doctrine of discovery was developed. This doctrine gave Christian Europeans the self-appointed right to invade other people's lands and steal whatever they wanted. In Spain, Spanish Christians had been fighting a reconquista, or reconquering, holy war against Muslims who had been occupying Spain for over 700 years. It was during this time that Spanish Christians developed concepts of racial purity, such as limpieza de sangre, or the cleansing of the blood, to make it whiter, more European. Spaniards also came up with the concept of blue blood, or the notion that your skin was so pale that your blue veins could be shown, and therefore you were deemed a person who was purer. Now, at the same time as Spanish and Portuguese Christians began pushing Muslims out of Western Europe in the Iberian Peninsula, in the East, Muslims were taking over areas such as Constantinople and controlling the trade routes to the very rich markets of Asia. It was the Portuguese who began sailing around Africa in order to reach Asia, but in the process encountered Africans and began enslaving them. This was a very lucrative slave trade for the Portuguese, and the Spanish soon joined in. At this point, the Spanish then invaded the Canary Islands, which are islands off the northwest coast of Africa. The Spanish exterminated 100% of the indigenous population of the Canary Islands. This set the template for later Spanish genocide in the Western Hemisphere. Christopher Columbus was a pirate and slave trader who offered his services to the King and Queen of Spain. He offered to sail westward in order to reach Asia, to reach the rich markets in which he could bring wealth back to Europe. After being lost at sea, on October 12, 1492, Christopher Columbus arrived in the Caribbean, thinking that he was in Asia. On his very first day, he wrote in his journal that the indigenous people he encountered would make good slaves for Europeans. Despite describing the indigenous people as peaceful and friendly, Christopher Columbus and his pirates began the process of genocide. They took the leaders hostage, extorted the population for gold, and then proceeded to execute the leadership. They then went around massacring, raping, and stealing everything they could of value. This began the Columbus formula of genocide. Take the leader hostage, extort the population, kill the leader, and then proceed to massacre unarmed people, all for the purposes of stealing the land and the wealth. Over the next 28 years, Europeans in the Caribbean would spread smallpox, which would decimate indigenous populations. Europeans got to witness firsthand for almost 30 years how smallpox worked, how it spread, and how it killed the indigenous population, but not so much the European population. All of this knowledge of how to commit genocide, this Columbus formula of genocide, was replicated in 1519 by the Spanish pirate and terrorist Hernan Cortez. By following the Columbus formula of spreading smallpox, massacring unarmed populations, and taking the leaders hostage, the Spanish proceeded to exterminate 23 million indigenous people in Mexico and Central America. This genocide formula continued. In 1532, Francisco Pizarro and more Spanish terrorists invaded Peru. By this time, the Spanish had 40 years of genocidal experience. At the Battle of Cajamarca in Peru, Francisco Pizarro and his men massacred 6,000 unarmed indigenous delegates. Following the Columbus formula of genocide, Francisco Pizarro and his men took hostage the Inca leader, they extorted the population for gold, and then proceeded to massacre and execute the leadership. Altogether, the Spaniards would kill 70 to 100 million indigenous people across the Western Hemisphere. This genocide made it possible for the Europeans to enrich themselves with gold, silver, free land, slaves, an untold amount of crops and other natural mineral wealth. Following the Spanish were the English, who began their own colonization in the 1600s. Altogether, Europeans were responsible for committing a 95% genocide against indigenous people, our ancestors. They destroyed our cities, burnt our books, raped our people, stole our land, and enslaved our ancestors. This genocide, enslavement, and occupation of our people and our lands by Europeans is continuing to this very day. The policies of genocidal destruction begun by Christopher Columbus and carried out by the Spanish, the English, and various European nationalities is still in effect today. The genocidal legacy of Christopher Columbus is one where we indigenous people today, mixed blood and full blood indigenous people, are impoverished, occupied by Europeans, our land stolen, and our history stolen from us, a forced ignorance upon our people. We live today as inferior subordinates, enslaved to the Europeans. The Europeans today call themselves Americans, Canadians, Criollos, or Chileans, Argentines, or whatever, but they are here as occupiers of our land based on the legacy of Christopher Columbus, and they are here using the doctrine of discovery as the basis of their white supremacist colonial occupation of our lands. They continue to steal the vast natural riches of our hemisphere, the natural resources like oil, timber, crops, etc., has made the white people of Europe, the European race, the richest and most powerful people in the world. But they got this wealth through genocide. And this genocide continues today in the form of false labeling of our people. By calling indigenous people Latino and Hispanic, the Europeans on our lands are attempting to erase our indigenous heritage. By calling us mestizos, Europeans are placing us underneath the white race of Spain and making us a subordinate, inferior category of people. And by calling us immigrants, using their European colonial borders, Europeans are genocidally erasing our history of indigenous civilizations going back 6,000 years, as well as our 50,000 year inhabitation of this continent. In summary, the European genocide of our indigenous people began in 1492, but it continues today.
How much damage, how many calamities, disruptions and devastations of kingdoms have there been? How many souls have perished in the Indies over the years, and how unjustly. How many unforgivable sins have been committed. Bartolomé de las Casas.
In December of 1492, 3 ships under the command of Christopher Columbus approached the second largest island in the Caribbean. For 8 weeks, Columbus had traveled from the Bahamas to Cuba, finally reaching the site of modern-day Haiti and the Dominican Republic. The island he would name Hispaniola. The island was then populated by people known as the Taíno. One region was controlled by the paramount chief, Wakanagari. On Christmas Eve, while coasting along the shore, Columbus's flagship, the Santa Maria, ran aground.
When Wakanagari learned the news, he sent all his people from the town with many large canoes to unload everything from the ship. So great was the care and diligence which that king exercised, and he himself was as diligent unloading the ship as in guarding what was taken to land, in order that everything would be well cared for.
Grateful for the island leader's help, Columbus accepted his invitation to come ashore.
The admiral left to dine on shore and arrived at the time when 5 kings had come, all subject to the one who is called Wakanagari. Wakanagari came to receive the admiral as soon as he had reached land and took him by the arm.
Columbus was immediately struck by the beauty of Taíno life.
The king observes a very wonderful estate in such a dignified manner that it is a pleasure to see. Neither better people nor land can there be. The houses and the villages are so pretty. They love their neighbors as themselves. And they have the sweetest speech in the world. And they're gentle, and they're always laughing. Christopher Columbus.
As a token of gratitude for the rescue of his men and supplies, Columbus presented Wakanagari with a red cape, a prestigious item among the Taíno elite. In return, Wakanagari gave Columbus a golden tiara he wore on his head. To Wakanagari, it was a fair exchange, a gesture of mutual respect and recognition, the opening of trade between equals. To Columbus, it was a crown, a symbol of authority. Wakanagari was surrendering his lands and people to Spain. But Columbus was not simply looking to rule people. He saw something much more valuable to his future. He saw gold, the prize he could take back to his sponsors in Europe. There was wealth to be had, and to the Europeans of the time, wealth belonged to those strong enough to take it.
Now, I have ordered my men to build a tower and a fort. Not that I believe it to be necessary, for it is obvious that with these men that I bring, I could subdue all of this island, since the people are naked and without arms. But it is right that this tower be made, so that with love and fear, they will obey.
Leaving behind a contingent of men in a fort built from the timbers of the Santa Maria, Columbus set sail for Europe. With him, he would carry the news of a new world, gold and docile island natives. Wakanagari and the Taíno had no way of knowing what was about to happen to their ancient way of life. The Taínos' ancestors were part of a series of migrations of South American Indian people dating back over 2,000 years. They farmed the land and harvested the wealth of the sea. Taíno traders traveled in huge ocean-going canoes capable of carrying up to 150 men. Boats laden with feathers, gold, wood, pottery, beautiful birds, cotton fabric, and food. Island nations were woven together by trade. Trade was the communication system by which nations knew one another and maintained peace. Some trading partners even exchanged their names to create lasting bonds between their communities. By the time of contact, there were well over 1 million people living in the Caribbean. Local community leaders were subject to powerful regional leaders like Wakanagari, who controlled trade with large personal fleets and warehouses of commodities. Into this world, Columbus returned in November 1493 with a military flotilla of 17 ships. Under his command were armor-clad soldiers, mounted cavalry, attack dogs, and guns. The Spanish conquest of the Caribbean began. Gold mines were opened, and the Taíno were enslaved, forced to mine the ore. A Spanish priest, Bartolomé de las Casas, who accompanied Columbus on his second voyage, spoke out against the cruel treatment of the Taíno people.
It is not possible to recount the 100th part of what I have seen with my own eyes. A man had need to have a body of iron to undergo the labor they endure in getting gold out of the mines. They must delve and search 100 times over in the inner parts of the mountains till they dig them down from top to bottom. They must work the very rocks hollow. Bartolomé de las Casas.
Epidemics and famine swept the island. Yet the Spanish continued to demand that the beleaguered Taíno supply them with both food and labor. Garrisons were strung across the island to fortify the gold fields. When resistance sprang up, Columbus sent out military units to terrorize towns into submission.
They were so relentlessly persecuted and pursued with their wives and children up into the hills, so tired, hungry, and harassed. And there went with them disease, death, and misery, just as if they had been killed in the wars. They died of hunger and sickness that surrounded them, and the fatigue and oppression that followed. After 1496, no more than a third remained of the multitudes that had been on the island.
Taíno suffering was so severe that thousands took their own lives rather than submit.
Wherefore many went to the woods and there hanged themselves, after having killed the children, saying it was far better to die than to live so miserably. Some threw themselves from the high cliffs down precipices. Others jumped into the sea, and others starved themselves to death. Benzoni, soldier for Spain.
Some escaped into the mountains, including Wakanagari, the paramount chief who had befriended Columbus. He soon died, a homeless wanderer. By 1503, 11 years after Columbus's first voyage, only a few pockets of resistance remained. In the mountainous region of Sharawa, Taino people ruled by a woman named Anacaona successfully evaded Spanish demands for labor. Determined to break the resistance, the Spanish governor requested a diplomatic meeting. Anacaona agreed and summoned 80 regional sub-chiefs to her statehouse for the meeting. When the 80 leaders were gathered inside, the governor gave a signal and the thatched statehouse was set on fire. Soldiers lined up outside with swords. Taino leaders who did not burn were killed as they fled the blaze. Anacaona was spared, only to be later executed by hanging.
On the other hand, most Americans know today is Columbus Day, at least in 47 states, although Hawaii has renamed it Discoverers Day after the original Polynesians who populated that island thousands of years ago. South Dakota calls it Native American Day, and Alaska just ignores it like they kind of do everything. But what we're really celebrating today is Taino Genocide Day, the day when Christopher Columbus began to wipe out an entire indigenous population in a way that would even make Pol Pot blush. In 1492, Columbus was on a manic hunt for gold when he set sail and eventually landed on a small island off the coast of North and South America, an island today named Hispaniola, which is split between the nations of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. As Columbus wrote in a letter to the King and Queen of Spain, "Gold is most excellent, gold constitutes treasure, and he who has it does all he wants in the world and can even lift souls up to paradise." But when he landed in what he called the New World, there wasn't much gold to be found. But he did find something he thought was just as good as gold: people, who, in Columbus's mind, would make great slaves. So he wrote to the Spanish monarchs, "They are well built, with good bodies and handsome features. They do not bear arms and do not know them, for I showed them a sword, and they took it by the edge and cut themselves out of ignorance. They have no iron. Their spears are made of cane. They would make fine servants. With 50 men, we could subject them all and make them do whatever we want. And here there are so many of these slaves. Although they are living things, they are as good as gold." What Columbus did to the island and the tragedy he brought to the native population there has been largely erased by time and replaced by a glorified story of a bold explorer who set out to change the planet. In reality, though, as a result of what we've learned from writings by Christopher Columbus's own men, he raped, pillaged, enslaved, and slaughtered people just to get rich. Not exactly the type of guy worthy of a Main Street parade. One of Columbus's crewmen, Miguel Queno, described the scene when Columbus first arrived in Hispaniola for the second time, and thousands of Tainos, or what were referred to as Indians, came out to greet the ships. Queno wrote, "When our caravels were to leave for Spain, we gathered 1,600 male and female persons of these Indians. For those who remained, we let it be known to the Spaniards in the vicinity that anyone who wanted to take some of them could do so to the amount desired, which was done." Queno went on to write that he took his own sex slave, a beautiful teenage girl who, in his words, quote, "resisted with all her strength," quote, end quote, leaving him no other choice but to, quote, "thrash her mercilessly and rape her," end quote. And when Columbus's men did good work, Columbus routinely presented them with their very own sex slaves. But that was just the beginning. Columbus eventually started up a global child sex slave trade, exporting Indians all around the world. As he bragged to a friend in a letter written in 1500, 100 castellanos, as a Spanish coin, are as easily obtained for a woman as for a farm. And it is very general, and there are plenty of dealers who go about looking for girls. Those from 9 to 10 years old are now in demand. Eventually, under Columbus's orders, life for the Taino on their homeland of Hispaniola became so bad that they resorted to mass suicide. As the Spanish missionary Pedro Cordoba noted in 1517, 25 years after Columbus arrived, As a result of the sufferings and hard labor they endured, the Indians choose and have chosen suicide. Occasionally, 100 have committed mass suicide. The women, exhausted by labor, have shunned conception and childbirth. Many, when pregnant, have taken something to abort and have aborted. Others, after delivery, have killed their children with their own hands so as not to leave them in such oppressive slavery. By the time Cordoba wrote those words, the indigenous population on Hispaniola had plummeted from roughly 3 million people before Columbus arrived to only 12,000 25 years later. A few decades after that, not one Taino was left on the island. An entire culture and people completely wiped off the map and largely forgotten, thanks to Christopher Columbus. Happy Taino Genocide Day.
The South today is really not much different than the rest of the country, but the Old South, that's another story and what the Rosewood Massacre is all about. 60 years ago, Rosewood in North Florida was a thriving little community of about 200 people, almost all of them black. Early in January 1923, some 1,000 whites came to town, and when they left about a week later, Rosewood had been burned to the ground. No one knows for sure how many people were killed there. The figures might be as high as 40. For 60 years, the story of Rosewood remained secret and was only uncovered recently by Florida newspaperman Gary Moore, who is writing a book on the massacre at Rosewood. Rosewood. There's a road sign proclaiming its name, but no memorial commemorating its dead. Located 9 miles from the Gulf of Mexico at Cedar Key, Florida, Rosewood today is little more than a trailer park. You search in vain for any sign of a slaughter, for any hint of the mass murder that took place here a long time ago.
Well, what did it look like?
It's a big blaze. You seen things on fire. A big blaze, just burning down. Just burning up the whole thing. Just burning up my grandmama's house, churches, and everything. They burned up everything we had. All our clothes and everything. Yeah. They burned it up.
Why did they burn everything?
They was mad.
But you were just little children.
I know it. What did we care? They didn't care. They killed us. I was about 8 years old.
Minnie Lee Langley was only a child when she became a refugee. Now, she's a great-grandmother. At her home in Jacksonville, Florida, we talked to her about the place where she was born, Rosewood, Florida, the place that haunts her memory.
I know they killed my aunt, and they killed my granddaddy. Made my granddaddy dug his hole. He didn't have but one arm, but they made him dug his own grave. And he prayed, and they shot him backwards in the grave.
At Rosewood?
At Rosewood.
This is where it all began, in the white settlement of Sumner, just a few miles from Rosewood. Sumner disappeared in the late 1920s when a fire destroyed the sawmill. But back in 1923, Sumner was a booming little company town. James and Fannie Taylor had a home not far from here. On the morning of January 1st, 1923, James Taylor was already at work at the sawmill when neighbors said they heard his wife Fannie screaming for help. Fannie told her neighbors that a man had entered her home and attacked her, a black man.
She opened the door, but he just knocked her down, and she was raped. And,
Edith Foster was 16 years old at the time. She remembers seeing the few hundred white men of Sumner joined by others from surrounding counties, even from out of state. She remembers how they grew into a mob seeking revenge.
if he hadn't ever went in on this white lady, you know, well, there'd never been nothing to it.
It's not known for sure who attacked Fannie Taylor. Some whites say it was Sylvester Carrier, a young, strong-willed black man from Rosewood. Some blacks say the attacker was a white man. They say it was Fannie Taylor's boyfriend. But a lot of people tend to think the attacker was a black convict who had escaped from a nearby chain gang. Whoever he was, he touched off a week-long killing party.
They just, a bad crew come in here, and they just wiped it off of the map.
That night, around about 9 o'clock or 8:30, there they come in a car.
they kept looking for this Sylvester, but they didn't seem to find him. And then they went back up there that night and to talk to his mother.
Calling for my aunt saying, Sarah, Sarah, Sarah. And so my aunt didn't say nothing because she was scared too.
And that's when all the shooting began, you see.
They went to shooting all in the house, all upstairs in the windows.
These colored folks, you know, they were ready for it.
And I was sitting right between his legs. And he had the gun over to my right shoulder.
This was Sylvester.
Yes, I got on under him, and these old white people busted the door down. When they busted the door down, that's when he dropped them. He just dropped everyone come to the door.
He shot them?
Yeah.
Well, they killed Mr. Anders before he got to the house. They loaded him with a buckshot right here. Killed him dead. They had to leave him there.
At least 2 white men were killed that night, forcing the mob to retreat. It was then that the black women and children, 12 or 13 of them, ran from the bullet-riddled Carrier home and into the woods. Minnie Lee Langley, 8 years old at the time, ran with them.
We had a aunt with us, so scrappy. She was just like a hen with a nest of biddies. She taken us to the woods, kept us out in the woods. She kept us out in the woods almost a week.
There's swamps out there.
Well, we stayed in there. Took it like a soldier and stayed out there in the woods.
You went through those swamps?
Yes, we went all out in the woods. And she built a little bit of fire for us to stay warm because it was so cold at night.
In the morning, the mob returned, several hundred strong. Inside the Carrier home, they found Sarah, Sylvester's mother. She was dead. They also found another body, a black man. Some people say it was Sylvester, but no one really knows for sure. What we do know is what happened next. The mob set the Carrier home on fire, and they watched it burn. And then that mob grew in size, it grew in anger, and it became even more violent.
You ain't never seen a mob like that.
Fred Kirkland was a teenager when he saw the mob rampaging through Rosewood.
They went wild. There was 1,000 to 1,500 people there by that time, and they're coming in from every direction. And they was crazy. They give the high sheriff and the deputy 5 minutes to get out of sight and not come back.
They told the sheriff and the deputy to get out of town and not come back?
Get out of there. Give them 5 minutes to get out of sight.
And what did the sheriff and the deputy do?
They left there. And then they went to burning houses, killing people you never seen.
Yeah, Sunday morning they came through here, you know, setting houses on fire. And as each one ran out, they'd shoot them, kill them. And there was a colored woman right here, lived just across here in the woods from me. And her name was Lexi Gordon. And she was sick. She had typhoid fever. And when she told her, the ones that was staying there with her, for them to go ahead and get away if they could, well, she'd just take whatever come, you know. Well, naturally, when they set the house afire, well, she ran out and ran out towards the back. And she had a back door, Johnny, you know, out there, and so she made for it. And they shot her before she got there.
But she had nothing to do with...
Nothing to do with it at all, whatever. And, well, it was the way with a lot of them, you see. That was the reason it was such a situation that we just couldn't understand. It was just a mad bunch of men come in here.
What do you think they got out of it? Why did they do it?
Motive, I guess, satisfaction is all I can figure it out. I don't know what it was.
Satisfaction.
I reckon that was it.
Well, the whole place was in smoke around here, you know. And they said they had destroyed all the buildings. And said that there would be no more to live here no more, you know. They couldn't come back and live.
We lost everything. Lost everything.
You own the land?
Yeah, we own our land, all of them.
And no one ever paid you any money for this land?
No.
Just lost it?
Took it.
What do you say to children today? Children like this boy, like your great-grandson, and people who didn't grow up when you grew up, and people who didn't go through what you went through, people who would say, this couldn't have happened in this country. Come on.
I would tell them like this. I said, don't ever stay in a place that white folks can surround it. Don't never stay in a place that white folks can surround it. Because if anything happens some ways else, they'll run you out from your home, just like they did us.
Rosewood. You won't find an accurate account of it in any history book. Yet, about 40 people were killed here one terrifying week 60 years ago. When you think about it, far greater atrocities have happened elsewhere in the world. But Rosewood belongs to America. It's a real American horror story. The wonder is that it stayed secret so long. Minnie Lee Langley never even told her family.
I didn't want them to know that I was scouting through the woods to stay out there all night long, out there in that cold and all that stuff. I didn't
Running
want
for your life?
Trying to save my life. I didn't want them to know just how I come along, you know, through all of this and what the white folks had did to us, because I thought it was really mean. What they did to us was mean and did it without a cause.
Tonight we're going to report a story that's almost 80 years old, but it will come as news to most Americans as, frankly, it did to us. This country's most violent race riot didn't happen in Newark or Watts or Detroit. It happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma in June of 1921. What Ross heard then is that on the morning of May 30th, a young black man got into the elevator of a building downtown, and that the elevator operator, a 17-year-old white girl, screamed.
The Tulsa Tribune, which was the afternoon daily newspaper, printed a fantastic write-up of this event. They had a front-page story that said, "Nabbed Negro for attacking girl." Within the next hour, there's lynch talk on the streets of Tulsa. Right before dawn, as many as 10,000 whites descended upon Black Tulsa.
Opening fire?
Opening fire. There was a block-by-block battle throughout the black community. They would force the occupants of a house out. If people resisted, they were murdered on the spot. The homes were looted, and then they were set fire to.
Did the white authorities do anything to try to prevent this or control it?
They don't. They spend most of their time arresting blacks and disarming blacks, preventing them from defending their homes and businesses, taking them to these internment centers around town.
Sounds like a precursor of ethnic cleansing.
Absolutely.
The trouble came from the air, too. Investigators say some of the fires you see in this rare footage of the riot were caused by whites dropping explosives from World War I vintage planes flying over Greenwood. The flames destroyed almost every home and business in Greenwood, 35 square blocks in all.
We didn't have no home. Everything was burned. All over there where we live, just burned down to the ground.
Late in the day, martial law was declared and National Guard troops patrolled the streets. The dead were everywhere, the bodies lying where they fell. Photographers turned some of their grisly pictures into souvenir postcards.
We think now that something like 300 people were killed in this.
How many people were left homeless by the riot?
Oh my gosh, 10,000 people were left homeless by the riot.
How many of those were white?
None.
But Tulsa's whites gave them something. Promises. Now, in fact, after the riot, the city's white establishment said it was going to rebuild Greenwood. What happened?
They lied. Not a dime. They proceeded to pass a fire ordinance that said, in effect, that you cannot build on property that had been burned. They wanted to starve blacks out of the land. They made it known to all philanthropic groups, we don't want your money. We would take care of our own. And there would be no problem. They spoke. They lied.
Courts and insurance companies paid some damage claims, claims filed by whites. All black claims were rejected. A grand jury filed no charges against whites. 57 blacks were indicted for rioting. And in fact, they'd put up one hell of a fight.
In my community, among those survivors, they won the riot. They won it. You know, only till they brought airplanes in and dropped bombs and firebombs and brought the National Guard in could they subdue my people. That's the view from the black community, that airplanes and National Guard saved them white folks. We were winning.
I said to my mother, how can it be hailing when the sun is shining? There was, I heard this noise hitting the house going blip, 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 blip. And she said, oh, here, I'll show you what's going on. And she took me to the front window and had me peer through the blinds. And she said, that's a machine gun up there. And your country, you see the American flag on it, your country is shooting at you. It's not hailing. And this was a great surprise to me. You see, I was just 6 years old. Never occurred to me my country, 'tis of thee, would shoot at me.
They tried to kill all the colored folks they could see. They tried to kill everything they see. It don't make any difference whether you're rich or poor. They tried to kill you if you was colored. All down here. All down here, they tried to kill them.
Gun dealers, well, they just was giving them out to whites. They go out there and kill your nigger. And that is literally what happened.
The Black Wall Street was the most vibrant and successful black community in America. There were children and teenagers growing up educated and affluent.
Everything was right there. So someone was asking me about going downtown in Tulsa. I said, I think I only went downtown one time before I was 6 years old, because we had everything we needed in the neighborhood. We didn't have to go downtown.
Because of the riot, the oldest building in Greenwood dates from 1922.
Black Wall Street Memorial, Pioneers Gardens, 1996. 1996, it's Wall Street, that's Greenwood here. Greenwood here is our Wall Street. Yeah, we live like we're Wall Street. Because a lot of folks was the oil city then. And a lot of folks come in from New York and Chicago. And we had a big time here on Greenwood. Oh yeah, oh yeah. This is the oil country, right? We was all right for a while. We was all right for a while. And old Nick come along and tore it up.
These kids watched movies at Bill Williams' Dreamland Theater, the best black-owned theater in the Southwest. They shopped at D.L. Hooker's general stores and watched him bring the day's profits to the bank by horseback. They received house calls from Dr. A.C. Jackson, who the Mayo brothers called the finest black surgeon in America. As teenagers, they frequented the luxurious Stratford Hotel and held their senior proms in its ballroom. They watched their older brothers and sisters propose in Williams' confectionery. They reveled in vibrant Greenwood nightlife that attracted musicians like Cab Calloway, high-stakes gamblers, and all kinds of entrepreneurs.
Tulsa was a city awash in oil money. It was largely in the white community, but it went to the black community as well, too. You had an explosion of businesses. You had an explosion of African Americans running their own businesses, owning their own homes, building their own homes as well, too. But it's also happening during this great period of rising white racism.